Good too. They just like ran in. Like you just see them in the background. They start wrestling.
Yeah, probably.
Your steely gaze, like looking
Yeah.
forward, like nope, nope.
Just top shelf off the couch behind me. Just
Doing like suplexes on the couch.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the regression scares me so much. It's just so great to put him down and him to be down. Just it's so life affirming.
Bed. No, bed. Go to bed. No, go to bed.
On my back healed.
Okay, healed. That's good. Go to bed.
Good?
Yep. I'm telling you, it's the summer hours. I can't deal.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't get it. It's
The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a sleeping 2-year-old and another on the way.
And my name's Jeff. My kids are both awake, and they're 7 and 4.
It's just so light out, and summer is exciting. Like, why would you sleep?
Well, exactly. As a kid, why would I sleep? I can hear my friends outside. I can hear stuff going on. The energy is still there. The sunlight gives them energy. It's just they feed off it, and it doesn't stop.
Air. Yeah, that's especially, man, like if the other parents in your neighborhood aren't on the same wavelength.
They're not. They're not.
They're just out front. I'm just imagining them like literally like out front of your house, like having like a soccer game like on your lawn.
And to be honest, it happened on Monday, so a couple days ago. We had a doorbell ring from one of Jude's friends, the neighbor, and it was it was like 8:30 at night. I'm like, what? No, he's in bed. He's in bed. And then I had to go out later to get some milk at the grocery store and come back. He's out there on the sidewalk with 2 other kids. It's 9:30 at night. So I'm like, oh, these parents need to be on the same schedule as us because this isn't gonna work.
You'd be sending out like a newsletter around. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Like, hey, we would appreciate if you put your kid to bed. It's real hard for me.
You gotta roll this back. I'm getting too much flack.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, it's even us. Like I noticed it too, just where it's he had a really bad streak where he was waking up like much earlier than was his usual. So 5:36.
That's right there. Elton, bed.
Marshmallows.
Go to bed. He's just saying random words. He's just. Do you hear that?
That's something marshmallow.
He's saying doors and marshmallows. Bed. That's my 4-year-old. That's not the 7-year-old. The 4-year-old should be long. It's 9:30. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is gonna make for good radio.
This is not.
Like you hear it perfectly. You just hear like,
oh yeah, he's
something marshmallow.
It's at the top of the stairs. He just looks over. Give me a long summer.
Jeez, I remember that you got to wonder. I don't know if your dad did the same thing, and you feel so much like being a dad now. You feel it so much more, or you relate to it so much more. And the poor man would come home from work, like just as we do, exhausted, like you're tired as anything. And I remember they were trying to go to bed, or like trying to get us to go to bed, and there's 4 of us, so we're throwing pillows like back and forth on the hallway. Like we both shared 2 and 2 shared rooms, so we're hurling like pillows and just like screaming and like stomping around.
Oh,
and just the poor man would have to sit. Like, so first, like we were getting told off and like told to be quiet, and we're not listening, and eventually he resorts to taking his newspaper, his like popcorn and his beer, and like just sitting at the top of the stairs, just reading the newspaper, like waiting for us to drop. And like, oh, you think back, like, oh, poor man, I can't believe we did that to him. And then like you're thinking yourself, like, oh no.
Yeah, that's coming back. That's coming back around. It's gonna be karma.
What if that's like the classic? Like that's just every son eventually gets to the point where they have to do something akin to that parent's action. Like, well, here it is. It continued.
It's not nurture at all. It's in the nature. It's just genetically ingrained. Like they need at this age, they're staying up and they're testing those limits. That's what's gonna happen. Sorry.
I'm trying to think. When I was let's see, yours is 7. I'm trying to think when I was 7, like how late I was staying up, especially in summer.
Yeah, I had a hard time trying to remember. I was over at my neighbors a lot, but I don't remember being out past sundown, like for sure. So definitely not 9:30 at night right now. So and okay, I have a beef with because my oldest is in camp. So he goes to camp, he does archery, he does kayaking, they do trail hikes, they're outdoors all day. I think he's gonna come home exhausted. He comes home with more energy than when he left. And I ask him why. And this camp is about 40 minutes away. So he gets on the bus and he takes a bus ride for 40 minutes. Turns out on the way back, he sleeps the entire way.
Oh, that's the nap.
So he gets
He's
a
loaded.
40-minute power nap. And he's ready to go for another 5 hours. Like,
Also, they serve coffee on the bus right before they nap.
they just give him chocolate. And that's it. Just chewing caffeine.
Chewing tobacco, caffeine shots, just like
Here you go.
I
Your
can't
parents did
visit.
this to us. We'll do it back.
Damn that. The nap on the ride is brutal. Like it's so disheartening. Like we'll have that too, where we're trying to. We'll be driving some point like near his like let's call it 1 o'clock nap,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called like 12:30, and you're driving home, and he falls asleep. And it's
Yeah.
just like, no, like
No,
no,
like a little poker. He's like, nope.
Yeah. You almost want to be cruel and wake him up because it's like
Yeah.
you're gonna get just enough not to sleep, and like the rest of the day is gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, the quick summary. Besides, you've already got into a little bit from a parenthood standpoint, but how was your week in fatherhood and gaming?
Yeah, so fatherhood is dealing with this summer hour stuff going on. Yeah, but it's been good. Again, coming home from work, you're a little bit exhausted, but taking them out to the splash pad and being outside with them, a lot better than just being cooped up in the winter and you don't know what to do with them a lot of the time. So it's been good that way. In terms of gaming, I'm still on Final Fantasy 15. I've taught my son who watches me. He knows all the summons, so he knows Rama, he knows Titan, he knows Leviathan, he knows that. It's great. He knows all the characters' names. So that's kind of exciting as a dad gamer to see.
So you should work it as like. So if you ever get one of those spells that duplicate or doubles your damage, it'd be like you could at least put it in the guise of education, where it's just like, okay, well, if I give him 500 damage, it's doubled.
He totally knows that he can rhyme off the hit points, and he's really good with math right now. So if I do a potion, he can add up how much hit points I would get from that. So it's good. I'm using it as a teaching experience. It's very educational.
Sure. Ice puts out fire, you see.
Yes, know the elements. What magic spell to use when. So no, it's been kind of a cool father-son moment. And it's not too violent. It's very like mythical. So everything's just magic, and you do have a sword, but there's no blood or anything. It's just these huge giant beasts. So it's kind of
dream. Cool. Like you're living the dream on that one.
Yeah, I love it. And it's Final Fantasy, right? So that's like my go-to, and to get him into that, it's kind of neat. So that's been good. The other game, as I mentioned before, was Pillars of Eternity. I bought that on a cheap sale. I think it's part of the Humble Bundle monthly as well. So I missed out on that game before, but I had to buy it this week. So I got a taste of that too. But
what is that one? Is that like a Diablo-like or like
it's kind of Diablo-like. CRPG, I think, is what the genre is, but it's Baldur's Gate kind of stuff. So you have a bunch of characters you have to manage, very micromanaging, like the battle's all real time, but you have to pause and kind of direct your guys to do certain things, or you're just dead. So it can be quite hard. they do suggest like easy mode, which I've never seen a game do that. They're usually like normal mode for best
Hey,
experience.
old timer, maybe you should.
Yeah. I typed in my age and it's like easy. I'm like, oh. So no, it's cool so far. I love the aesthetic. It's like an old 90s kind of take on that stuff. So it's cool.
Nice.
Anyway, that's me. How about you?
Yeah. So the yeah, Father's been pretty good. We finished up some prenatal courses, which was eye-opening in that, like, oh yeah, all these things. Like,
Yeah. Did you take that as like a refresher?
yeah,
A
well,
refresher course?
in truth, it was actually just like a video series we had found. We thought like it was pretty thorough, which was great, and the teacher is really well renowned. Sorry. So it was just going to be a bit easier with like the kid and like the kind of go at our own pace instead.
Yeah.
But it's very much the exact course that we saw, minus the plastic babies and like practice neighbors. And given that we did the real thing that morning, that we felt okay about. But yeah, if anything, just to kind of remind us of the labor process and like what it takes, like how that comes about, to terrify us a little bit, of course.
Yeah.
But then when the baby does come and like the first days and like care and like feeding, like heat, just so it was great. Like it's not so much about you've been through it before, so like you hope that some of it's going to come back, but just like if anything, kind of just getting your head in that space where it's like, oh yeah, babies.
Yeah.
Right. Remember these things. That was quite good. Little man is this same babbling. We've been working with him on his speech a bunch, trying to get him to, and it was interesting because he's now started to definitely pick up a couple of 2-word sentences.
Okay, good.
Like agua de coco, so coconut water in Spanish, apple juice, up please, like walk, like just the walk now, like there's just a whole bunch of them. And then hearing him say that, it was one of the first thoughts was just almost like a sad dad moment where it's like, huh, you're never gonna not talk again, are you?
Yeah. That's gone forever.
Like that's a moment that's passed, and not as in like, oh, my kid talks all the time, blah, like a complaint, but just like a literal like kind of a sadness around it, where it's just like, that's it, like you're past that phase now, like you're vaulting towards talking all the time, like full sentences and speaking, which is exciting. Like that's awesome to get into their heads a little bit and kind of understand what he's thinking.
Yeah. Then the talking back comes.
Yeah, or peeking around the corner like in your house and marshmallow door and just throwing facts and words. Yeah, but that was an interesting moment. Just like it's like, yeah, he starts doing these 2 sentences and it's like 2-word sentences, and the thought that like that's a phase he's past. It's he no longer doesn't talk to some extent. So
yeah,
that was interesting moment. Gaming still very much in a kind of vicious cycle at the moment, so not much going on there. If anything else, it's really just like looking at news and taunting myself or like all the stuff that's coming out. And there seems to be so much for VR happening too. There was a leak I think even today that stated that Fallout 4 GameStop had hinted, or like GameStop had seemed to include it in their PSVR repertoire. That one, I know that I think they talked about. Wait, had they even talked about that for PC?
Yeah, they did announce it for PC, the Vive or Vive or whatever it is.
So it's either a mistake or it's a hint of future. Doom VR pre-order came out. Super Hot, I think, released today or yesterday.
Yeah.
4 or 5 titles. Like one was like Amulet, another one's like Arizona Drive or something to that extent.
Yeah,
just like a zombie shooter stuff. Just like
one after another, eh?
just piling on all Final Fantasy like 12.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps like all these like glorious reviews of it come around. It's like how amazing it is. It's just okay. Firstly, it's too pricey, and secondly, I don't got the time.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things you keep seeing it on the periphery, like all these news stories or links to it. You're just like,
must resist.
Why are you daunting me? By the time you're cheap, I might have time for you.
Which is good. Maybe it comes down in price, and then you'd be able to buy all the games and not have time for it then. So
yeah. Perfect. Yeah, so the Evo was recent. I mean, like, so I saw all this ton of Street Fighter news. They introduced a new character, Abigail, which is this. Interesting, they went this route. It kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with Street Fighter, and like there was Hugo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the huge dumb wrestler guy with like the big flock of hair.
Yeah.
He was in, I think, 3 and 4. But it basically just looks like Hugo without hair. Like it would
Like a
to the extent, in my view, almost to the point where it didn't feel necessarily super original. And they already have some big guys, but I don't know. It's a DLC character anyways. I'm not likely to pay for it anytime soon.
maybe
Or
in
play
6
the
months.
game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 months.
Super
big,
Street
like
Fighter at that point.
Ultimate, yeah, whatever that would be. And I still think about that as far as like side rant would be like that as a game for VR. You don't have to do a lot, right? I just mean it's like literally like just the two of them though are just in front of you.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Kind of like on like a tabletop or something. Like you see them
like,
versus being first person.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just like looking down at a table, and it's as if they're fighting on the table.
Yeah.
Or that's like the stage. So you're kind of like in the stage, or the stage is even just kind of surrounding you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's even just flat on, but they're just like directly in front of you, and the jungle is kind of just extending around you.
That would be cool. Just the environment comes around you, and then yeah, like you say, you can see them in front. Kind of like you're controlling these little battle bots in like a stage, and
yeah,
going.
Like I think that's what.
To bed. That's the last chance. Close your door. No, you already said something. To bed now. Quickly. Quickly. Shut the door.
I count to 3.
Yeah, I know.
All
the way. Close the door. Close it. All the way. All the way. All the way, Elton.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I gotta be careful how much I laugh. That's definitely gonna happen to me.
Yeah. Welcome to 2. There you go.
How much when your second came, how much regression did your first one go through with sleep? Like, did he sleep through the night and then you had the second one and he stopped sleeping through the night or anything?
Yeah, it was kind of a different period of time where we had to move rooms for him too. So he got a big boy bed at that time, which was a totally different experience. That probably interrupted a lot of it. And we were starting the potty training as well, like through the night. So there are a lot of times where he wasn't getting a full night as he did, which was a good 12 hours. He was up a lot. Either we were waking him up for the potty training part, or he figured out how to open his door and he was out on the landing up front. But yeah, not so much like regression as like learned. Like if he was in the same room and the baby came along, I'm sure he'd be fine. It was just so much change at once that I think kind of kicked it off. So
I like to learn the doorknob because mine's like definitely he reaches it and he grabs it and he starts to like kind of like it's like oh no, that's a whole new game if he gets.
Yeah, no, my son could he could take off the stopper on the doorknob that comes in like a shell piece. He could totally like put his fingers in and just twist the doorknob. I'm like, I don't know what.
I'm almost impressed by your ingenuity, but I don't like it.
I keep thinking like video games though, like his lock picking skills like increased like in a Skyrim thing, like just gain a level.
So you had talked about Pillars of Eternity, and then you had reminded me that was actually a Kickstarted game,
right?
So just that's such an interesting way to fund a video game, like, and some notions too, like it's phenomenal because like as opposed to starting with a concept, finding publishers, dealing with like that whole politics big company thing, going through all the hassle of a game and then hoping people will buy it. Yeah, it's almost like, hey, look, here is the artwork, here's the gameplay, here's how this thing will go. Would you buy this game? Yeah. And if enough of you do, then it gets built based on the money that you already made.
Right.
So it's great. I mean, I think that the problems that kind of arise would be the time it takes to make video games, which is very long. Like especially anything of decent size is difficult. right? Like it just takes years. So, you know, you're paying years in advance for a game you may never get. And that's the second point too, is just like the unfortunately Kickstarter's track record of broken projects where pitching your money, hope for the best, but the group just doesn't deliver. Like it kind of falls apart. So you're just left sitting there with an empty console, like dreaming of what could have been.
Right, and your money's gone already at that point, right? So,
so had you funded a Kickstarter game before?
yeah, I have funded one, and then I've bought a couple that have come out of Kickstarter, so I wasn't a backer. But I'll start with the bad experience. Maybe the bad experience is that I did fund one by the guys that made like Total Annihilation, Supreme Commander. So it was like a strategy, like massive, you're base building, you're trying to attack an army, very like, Age of Empires strategy game, but with big robots and lots of cool explosions. So they wanted to do the next iteration on their own, no publisher to talk to, no politics, like you said, Planetary Annihilation, which was with planets, and you could like build bases and then fire them to the moon that was actually orbiting in game, so armies could be on different planets, and you could smash one of those planets into the other planet to eliminate the enemy, and it all sounded like, whoa, that looks cool. They had like a proof of concept video.
Yeah, sign it up, done.
And then like
planet smashing.
It took 2-3 years to come out, and it was not very good on. It was just the vision was too large. A lot of mechanics didn't work well. It was not optimized. I think that's part of the Kickstarter place, is that a lot of these companies don't have the resources to optimize, or maybe just some do it better than others. But it was all based on the Unity engine. And then when you kind of make thousands of things happen at once, that engine kind of falls apart, or like makes your computer go haywire trying to render all this stuff.
Small fires in your computer.
Yeah, it didn't work on release that well. They said patches were coming, but as a self-funded thing, I don't know if they've kind of banked resources to patch it. So it took them really long to get a patch out that worked for most people. And it was just kind of a mess. And it wasn't well reviewed, and they upped the price, I think, on Steam to try and get more money, saying it was a better game at a certain point in time. And it was not a good experience. They came out with another Kickstarter as this one was finishing. So it was almost like, no, wait, your resources should be still devoted to finishing and patching this thing.
No, you're not done your first, don't you?
Yeah. So I can see if, certain companies treat it differently. But I did have a bad experience, and it was $20, I think, at the time, 3 years ago. That's a few coffees.
It's $100 today money.
Yeah, the inflation. Oh my gosh. But,
so you did have a good experience though?
Yeah, so a couple good experiences. I didn't fund them, but Divinity Original Sin, which I love, and Pillars of Eternity, the one I recently bought, were both Kickstarter games. They're the companies that can do it right.
It's great.
Yeah. So, and they're making a second one. It was so successful. The first one, they went back to Kickstarter, explained what they were doing, why they were going back, because a lot of people question that. Like, you made so much money, why are you asking us for more? And it's really just to fund the next R&D for the next game. And they had great success with it. The game was really well viewed in both the audience and reviewers. Same with Pillars of Eternity. Maybe it's that genre that I'm really interested in. It's kind of a top-down isometric fantasy style,
90s type of thing. Sure.
Yeah, and they could do what they wanted to do, and there's constant like updates and stuff. So those are two good experiences that I think really took off. But yeah, I've had a few, but Planetary Annihilation is the one that I definitely backed and regretted it after a while. But
there's interesting examples too with things like Star Citizen, which I don't think technically, I don't think that was on Kickstarter.
No, but it's still funded, right? Like it's...
Yeah, but it's just player funded, and that thing's just continued to plod along. Like it's very much not much of a finished game at this point, but like they keep expanding and keep talking about new things. They've taken in gobs and gobs of money apparently. And what's interesting about that one too is like the constant. It's very much like what Greenlight I think was almost supposed to be, where like your purchasers come along for the ride. Where it's like, look, this thing is like super, super alpha. There's so many things missing, but like I'd love you to hop in and like tell us what you like, and then it's this whole community kind of going forward after like paid access to it.
Yeah.
Now so myself, I had it was just before the show we checked up on it. So it's Space Ventures. Specifically, the game was let's see, Ace Hardaway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Space Venture. So these are the guys who created Space Quest, the original Space Quest, so the point-and-click adventure.
Promising, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry. So I was looking through the. Oh man, it's probably even before. Hold on, because I see that the original estimated delivery, because these things are time boxed, so it only has like, let's call it like a month to like fulfill their goal, and I see that the estimated delivery was February 2013.
Oh, wicked. So yeah.
So likely it was even like, call it like at least like almost a year before that. So like,
so we're talking 5 years. 5 years ago.
5 years, which is like, I feel more comfortable saying it was 4 years. I'm trying to think about how. Five feels excessive, but let's call it 4 years.
4 years, right? Before you had a kid, you funded this game thinking that you
years before I had a kid. 2 years before I had a kid, this thing was funded. And I think about man, like the only reason I remembered this was because they actually sent an update email, kind of walking through like the stuff that's going on, like and the progress, and they had like a video. So they seem to be making good. Like I'll say that they certainly don't feel like charlatans or that they lied. I think maybe the ambition of it's caught them up a little bit as far as like what they wanted to produce as opposed to what they first thought. So apparently it's coming still
for your kids now. It's like, no, now I can't play it. So maybe when my son's older and it comes out,
one day you or your son will be able to play this game. Like as it continues. Yeah, and now that I have a kid, like when on earth would I play this? This game? Oh, and especially if it's obtuse. I'm curious to see how obtuse it is. If it's obtuse like the old like Space Quest ones, where it's like next to impossible to actually beat the thing. I remember one of the puzzles in old Space Quest is you get shoved down a garbage chute, and you land in a garbage pit.
Okay.
And I think we only knew about this because we were following a guide, but you have to walk off screen on the left and look in a hole to find a green, like glowing green, like tube or something. And I think you needed that later on. Like, and just why on earth would you ever think to look, like just randomly go off screen and look? Like, it's just so obtuse. I don't know if it's Monkey Island, but another one had a similar one where some of the Sierra point and click thing is just like on some random beach, you just had to start digging. Right. Dig in like a particular spot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bonus. Like that was like a mission critical item. So if you didn't happen to stand on these exact pixels and dig, you did not beat that game.
Yeah.
And it's like, how would you possibly like?
I can contrast that to like modern games where they handhold you so much that it's like press X to defeat the boss. And now like we're talking these old games where it's like, you need this item like 10 screens ago. You didn't find it. So now you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, you can't go back. It's just it. You're finished.
Oh, did you save? Oh, that sucks.
Ooh. Harking back to like the huge list of saves. Like
there's no checkpoint system here. We're just you should have checked every pixel, every frame. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, there's also a big ruckus with green light with Steam, and that's something myself I never got into. I don't know if you ever did.
No, but I kept my eye on it. There were some good games in Greenlight.
Darkest Dungeon, one of the biggest. What was a huge wasn't it a DayZ?
Yeah, DayZ. I think Subnautica was there, which again, I guess is another one that was kind of in the beta. I think it's still in beta.
Okay, that one actually, yeah, she's okay. Well, that one I got.
Yeah.
Because I think it went on a massive deal, and you had talked about it. Really glowing light seemed to recall, so I picked that one up. So I guess technically.
Which is interesting because that one is, I believe it's still in beta or whatever it's in. And then I think EA has purchased it. So that's a weird one too, where you funded this game and now a huge company has walked in with their resources. And you're like, What? Whoa. That's great. You got it to
Am I
this
gonna
point.
resell it to me like
Yeah.
for $80?
Yeah. So
Have they made a statement about that? Like, how would that work? Like, if you
I'd have to read up on that, but I think it was more about they needed resources. They wanted this game to be, you know, that vision. And I think EA stuck its hand out and they took it as just something to use to get to that point. I don't think they're touching the game per se, but who knows behind the scenes, right? If they don't think it's viable, they're going to definitely direct it a different way. So, but I'd have to read up on it, what happened.
You would think they'd have loyalty to the people. Well, not to back a careless to bash EA necessarily, but I mean, they wouldn't necessarily have loyalty. But you'd almost think that, like, if you're going to purchase us, like, look, we already have sold the copy of a game to, call it 1,000 people or 10,000, and you can't just leave them stranded and
No,
can't leave without a life raft, right? Like,
no. And that community can flip pretty quickly. So if you have that going for you, you're going to get those reviews pop up on Steam that can flip your game and kill it.
yeah, just like the ill will too, because, like, man, this day and age, as far as like that type of thing, like that type of ill will towards the customers, like it Twitter storm, Reddit, just Facebook. Next thing you know, it's just 1,000 like viral posts about how these people were left behind, and there's all these like awful like email chains, like all these awful threads talking about like nothing but negative press for the game that had so woefully treated its initial backers. But
maybe a No Man's Sky following kind of thing. So
man, there's a massive like release that they're teasing right now for that. Another game I keep my eye on that I never get to touch anymore. They sent out like, have you read any of it?
Have I read up on it?
Yeah, if you've heard of any like the recent like
I hear the game is actually pretty serviceable now. So
now it's great. Like with the explorer vehicles for planets, like those are a blast. You can visit other people's planets. You can set up a racetrack for other people to come onto your planet and like try to beat your times. Like it's freighters. Like you can get these massive spaceships where you can store like a number of ships if you want to own a couple.
That's pretty cool. That's kind of what the original promise was, right? Like they're there now or getting there.
Yeah, and in some small ways, it's almost like buying a pre-access game and coming along with it. I still hold that they did pretty good on delivering what they'd on some of the like the videos and the type of hype, like the feeling of it when first playing it, like it was really something. Like I thought that was really incredible. But they've definitely taken it further. But the current stuff is, and I think they did this all within Reddit of all things. There's a very active forum there, and they literally mailed. People started to hear about this other game. I think they were starting to talk about called like Walking Titan or some to that regard. Okay. And people were like surmising about it. They were like making all these theories about it. And then like 13 or 14 people received physical cassette tapes from the company, and without any real instruction as to what they were, like what they did. I don't think they really. I think there's like some noise on it.
Yeah,
too.
okay.
So I think they all had to work together to try to like figure out like what it all meant. Like what was the. So I'm probably doing this misjustice as far as like what Google's my buddy because now I don't want to leave folks hanging if they have actually solved this.
It kind of sounds like that Netflix special with that 13 tapes and that viral thing that went. They all had to piece together the tapes to make sense of what happened. But that's a pretty cool. If that's like a marketing ploy, that's a great way to kind of test the community and see what people can do with simple things like that, right?
Yeah, let's see here. Beginner's Guide to Walking Titan and No Man's Sky ARG. Let's see. There's like all video streams. I think so. Walking Titan was just like it's a series of videos.
It's not like a mech warrior, is it? Because it sounds to me that that'd be a cool robot mech thing.
Yeah, you'd imagine it'd be that cool. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, the moderators from various No Man's Sky subreddits began receiving packages. merchandise and a cassette. On the cassettes received. Let's see. I just want to see if they got to a answer.
But that's for the next update that's coming out. It's called Walking Titan or something. Like it's a code name or tease.
Let's see. Big game.
It's going to be all VR now. They're just going to announce VR. It's called Walking Titan VR. You won't be able to play it. You'll have a second.
So there's, yes, yeah. So Walking Titan. So Walking Titan, like I guess it just basically resulted in like being like a real world quote unquote game, where there's like websites and puzzles and lore and everything else, all pointing back to dates and information about the next No Man's Sky update.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's infinitely deep, but ultimately seems like to announce their next massive patch, they sent out these physical things and got the entire community up into an uproar about like what on earth it all meant, trying to figure it out. So
that's good. It's engaging, right? And that's what Kickstarter does too. When you back a game, you're, depending on the level you've backed, you're engaged with the game and you have that kind of game designer self come out and you can influence what they're doing, which is scary too, because as a designer, as I'm sure you know, having more cooks in the kitchen, it's not always the best thing. I don't know if I lost you or maybe I lost it, but I'm still on here. I think you dropped. Let's see. Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're there.
Can you hear me again?
Yep.
Yeah. So I hit. I leaned on the button on my.
You fell asleep. You leaned on.
I wish. No, I leaned on the button on the headphones, and Siri came up, and that just destroyed the feed. Like it just like all dropped. It was like just pause. So I don't know what my face. I don't know if you saw my video the whole time or if I was
it was just frozen. It was frozen. Okay. On. It was actually your head down the keyboard there. It's like, help.
That's me staring at it like, oh God, what's happened? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll edit that part out. But what was the last bit? So there's No Man's Sky, incredible stuff, and that's what Kickstarter does. Yeah. Because often, like with the different tiers you get involved with, it, you get the designer insight, you get like extra backup stuff.
Yeah, which is sometimes really cool when it works out. Like if you get like a hand-drawn instruction booklet, like something that they don't do anymore. That's kind of cool when they can deliver it, because there are a lot of horror stories where those things aren't fulfilled because they've either run out of money or they've just produced the game and they're waiting for those funds to roll in to then give to all these backers. And you kind of have to, it's hard not to think that you own the game at that point if you backed it, whereas it's more of a investment, right? Like this could not pan out, and that's totally cool, but I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, that's really hard to think of. Like, that's the absolute truth. Investment that definitely goes south. Like you just lose. Like it's a bet.
Yeah.
But from gaming, and like with gaming budgets, and like, okay, I'm gonna spend this much this year in games, or like, okay, I can afford to get this. But then to do that and not get something.
Yeah.
They just take that roll of the die. Like hard.
There was one game, one last game I'll talk about. The guy that made Final Fantasy Tactics, so like the artist for it or the gameplay designer or something, he wanted to kickstart his new game. And it was the same kind of style, isometric, had all the levels. I'm like, oh, deal. This is perfect. It's got that old school RPG pixel kind of art, or the sprites. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I'm in on this. I was just about to back, and I'm like, no, I'm going to hold off. I don't know how long. These games usually take forever. This guy's pretty much a perfectionist, so let me just hold off. Turns out the game's in like limbo for 2 years. They got their funding, and then they just, through bad financial decisions, burned it all. Like they needed to get this one musician that was going to do the soundtrack. That fell through because he was pulled onto an actual job. Like these people have jobs during the day, and he couldn't complete his end of the bargain. I think he brought it back to life recently, saying that it's still going. It's just he's trying to find other funding to get it done. But I'm so glad I didn't back that, because that was one thing that just tugged at me. I'm like, oh, it's Final Fantasy, dude. It's Final Fantasy Tactics, kind of isometric strategy stuff. I'm like, But
you want to do it, but can't.
no,
Yeah.
I
Like him,
realize.
man, like the high profile ones too. That's interesting. Like the Castlevania. I
Yep.
swear he had one too, right? I
Yep.
think he got backed. I don't know if it ever released.
I can't remember, but yeah, again, high profile.
These old school guys like getting into the new method.
Yeah.
Forget those publishers, it seems.
Yeah. Sometimes I think the publishers are a good thing, right? When they keep them on track and there's a time frame and they
Money.
handle the money side of it. Like, no, you can't order in all the time and get like these meals that are paid by backer money or whatever.
No, that's not a good use of time. Like,
Yeah.
get the course system in place.
Yeah. So sometimes, that vision is kind of contained and that can work, but there's other companies that can do it well and kind of it's that willpower thing. I don't know. They have to stay on track. Sleep on my bed of money that I gave you.
Let's kickstart this podcast. We'll,
there you go.
Backers get like behind the scenes footage of like Jeff's kids being unruly on the stairs.
Even better, they get babysitting terms on some nights.
How would you top backer gets to babysit dad's kid?
Yep.
Win.
Pictures of my family. Like, there you go. I'll sign it.
At all.
Yeah.
Signed. Yeah, big massive on the bottom.
Yeah. Thanks again for kickstarting my life.
Your favorite new dad.
Yeah. College fund. Great.
So speaking of that, this has been New Dad Gaming. Thank you everybody so much for listening. If you'd like to reach out to the podcast, you can find us at our website, newdadgaming.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook, any other social medias. Reach out on that website if you have questions, show ideas, anything else you'd like to reach out to us for. You can find the podcast on iTunes as well as Google Play and many other podcasting services. I record and release this show weekly and would appreciate a subscribe, a like, and a passing along to New Dad who games, or at least wishes he could. As is so often the case. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 2-year-old and another on the way.
And I'm Jeff. I now have a sleeping 7-year-old and maybe a sleeping 4-year-old. We'll see.
Just went for one last dinosaur elbow. Like, you need to sleep.
He starts clapping. Like, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that praise.
Yeah.
Awesome. See you next week.
Yep. Peace.
Oh, that was so great. So many interruptions. It was beautiful. It's been ages since we've been interrupted. I don't know which one of us. It might have been myself. Interrupted by crying baby.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. This is just not abiding by the rules.
No, it's rebelling and like pushing, and it's like it's summertime, so it's hard.
Yeah. He's got a little octopus light that lights up stars onto his ceiling, but he uses that as almost like this. I've walked in on him, and he's got a book. And he's using the octopus light to see the pictures, and like he looks like he's conjuring like this plan with his teddy bears around him. Like, all right, we're gonna take the family room, then we're gonna go outside, and we're gonna
throw the pillow here, knock that off. I'll buy us 5 minutes.
We're gonna run this town. Let's do it.
It's just that new way. It's just like it's a very new age way of having like a light underneath the covers.
Yeah.
But at least it's like to sneak in a book, and it's not like he's.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm like, I can't scold him. He wants to like learn to read, which is great.
I want to read. Put that away. Turn on your Game Boy. Get out of here.
He's probably hurting his eyes with this green light that's emitting in the pages. Like, it's probably not the best, but get a little headlamp.
I'm sure it's approved. Don't worry. Should be fine. Oh.